Before we get started, we just want to thank Old Republic Surety for sponsoring this episode of Let's Get Surety, as well as NASBP virtual seminars. For more information on Old Republic Surety, visit www.orsurety.com. Now on to our show.
You're listening to Let's Get Surety. Let me hear your bonding talk with Kat Shamapande.
Hey everyone, it's Kat Shamapande. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Let's Get Surety. Got with me today my co-host, Mark McCallum, CEO of NASBP. Hey Mark, thanks for being on.
Hi Kat, great to be here as always.
I'm excited about our topic today. I mean, we're living in pretty uncertain times with the upcoming election and an uncertain economy. So we're going to be talking today about strategic moves that businesses can make for growth and sustainability during these uncertain times and looking at 2025 and beyond.
Kind of looking into a crystal ball a little bit, right?
Exactly.
A lot of things are uncertain, and it's good to have somebody to kind of guide us through that a little bit.
Exactly. So to do that, we've got with us today Gene Marks. He's a best-selling author, business keynote speaker, columnist, and podcast host. And he actually spoke at NASBP's East meeting in New Orleans earlier this year. Hey, Gene, thanks for being on with us today.
Thank you both for having me on. It's good to see you, Kat and Mark. Thank you.
Well, Gene, before we dive in, can you just tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah. So I guess your audience can't see me, but if they were to see me, they would know immediately that I'm a certified public accountant. Pretty much the look that I have a firm outside of Philadelphia. We have about 600 clients. We do financial and technology consulting, but most people know me because I do a lot of writing and media appearances. So I write every week for The Hill and The Guardian and Forbes and Philly Inquirer and Chicago Daily Herald and a bunch of other places. And I cover small and mid-sized businesses and all the issues that I'm sure we're going to be talking about in our conversation that impact us. So that's pretty much how I spend my days.
As we're looking at this change in administration that's going to take place, is there anything we should be aware of?
Yeah, one or two things. I mean, there is clearly there is a lot going on, and what I try to do when I talk politics, and it was just like when I spoke to the group back in New Orleans. You try to keep this very nonpartisan and business-like. So
Right.
This election, we should all be paying close attention. We should be voting, with what we, obviously the issues that we care about. But there are definitely differences in the two candidates and how they're going to be impacting businesses over the next few years. And I completely understand people want to vote for a candidate for president based on social issues or personal issues. That's fine. That's great. But if you're just in a sort of a vacuum and you want to focus on business issues, there definitely are some significant differences between the two.
I mean, it's perfect that you focus on small and medium-sized businesses. That really is kind of the bread and butter for a lot of our own members, and they're trying to get ahead of it like everybody else, trying to figure out, well, what does this mean? Because there's going to be a change of administration either way, right?
Right.
So what does this mean for themselves and for their clients going forward? There's been some kind of interesting times. You had the COVID and kind of the recovery after that, but there are still these issues, particularly for businesses, that continue to this day. You have higher cost, you have labor issues and the like. How do you see those figuring into your advice going forward?
Yeah, I mean, the issues never go away. So regardless of elections or administration, business people have been dealing with these issues since the time of antiquity, So for one thing, I like to tell my clients and people I speak to, like, everybody calm down. This is nothing new. Inflation, higher interest rates, financing issues, even supply chain issues were, impacting shopkeepers in Carthage, just as they're impacting shopkeepers in North Carolina. This year, though, there are the biggest issue I think facing businesses is taxes. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a CPA. The two candidates have starkly different positions on taxes. They both have their strategy with taxes. On the Democratic side, the strategy is to go after the wealthier individuals, to go after corporations. to raise taxes on them, as people that can afford to pay it, and then use that to fund their programs and hopefully pay down the deficit a little bit, which is a whole other conversation. On the GOP side, their strategy is completely different. Rather than raise taxes, they believe that lowering taxes on corporations and individuals, even the wealthy, will spur growth and hiring and investment, and therefore those tax receipts will then fund their programs and help pay down the deficit. So it's two completely different points of view, and I think we just need to be very wary of that as business owners and business professionals, which is going to impact us the most.
Obviously, a lot of small, medium-sized businesses are in different forms, different corporate forms. How do you see the current proposals from both candidates impacting that area for these businesses?
I hate to take sides here, but I'm just going to act in a vacuum. I mean, the GOP policies are definitely more tax friendly for small and medium-sized businesses. I just wrote a piece in the Washington Times where I kind of broke down, the typical small business owner makes between, and this is important for all of us in this industry that are dealing with our clients. This is and we as business owners, the typical business owner, makes anywhere from $80,000 to $120,000. And I took like an average earnings of $100,000. And there are three big things that really impact a business owner. This, based on the policies, the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is going to expire at the end of 2025. And number one, there's a huge tax deduction that's part of that called the qualified business income tax deduction. Basically, it's like for anybody who has a pass-through, like a S corporation or a partnership, you get to deduct 20% of the income right off the bat before it passes through to your individual tax return. So it's a big 20% deduction. And that if that does not get renewed or made permanent, that goes away at the end of 2025. Right now, Vice President Harris is not making any statements that she would support the continuing that tax deduction. On the GOP side, they want to continue it and make it permanent. So that's a big hit. So that's number one. The second thing is the standard deduction. Guys, like if we're married and filing jointly, when we do our taxes on our tax return, we get an automatic, like it's $29,200 deduction right off the bat. We can deduct against our income. And that's like a big chunk, but that gets cut in half if it's allowed to, if the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expires. So that obviously is a 50% less deduction than we were all getting. So that has an impact on taxes. And then, of course, there's rates themselves on people in this earnings category are going up slightly as well when you actually pull out the tax tables and go through them. So those three things, the business, the pass-through deduction, the standard deduction, and just an overall increase in rates, for a typical small business owner, they're going to be paying more in taxes unless something changes.
I know one of the proposals is taxing unrealized capital gains by one of the candidates. How do you see that playing out, and what would be the impact both on individuals and maybe even on companies as well?
Well, first of all, as an accountant, it's awesome because it'll provide for us a bunch of work to do. So there we go. I love it. Keep doing it. Keep coming up with new ways to tax people so we have a continuous revenue stream. First of all, the proposal itself is supposed to impact people with assets of more than $100 million. So I don't know how many people listening to this conversation are in that category. And if you are in that category, I would love to take you out for a beer, but that's another conversation altogether. So there is that, but the proposal is very controversial. There's still it's questionable whether or not it's even constitutional to do. And it's just, it's a tough one. They've never really done that in history. I mean, the best, for those of you guys that might be listening to this and just not 100% sure of what this means, it's like the idea is that, say you've got your house, and say this year your house went up in value $10,000, but you didn't do anything. It's just the new market value is $10,000 higher than it was a year ago. Well, under this proposal, it's a proposal from the Democrats, you would be taxed on that increase. It's an unrealized gain, even though you didn't realize it by selling your house. So you can imagine, a lot of people are not thrilled about that are in that income, an asset category. And then people are concerned that it will have a substantial impact on the stock market. Why why buy stocks and hold them and have all these gains when you're going to get taxed on them? So I just can't imagine this actually going through getting legislative support in a very divided Congress. But the fact that it's being proposed and seriously considered is definitely worthy enough of a conversation,
Right. Now, one of the things that has been a difficulty for the surety industry and also for the construction industry, one of the industries that it serves, is kind of attracting and retaining talent. Are you seeing business leaders out there doing more than what they normally do in that regard, both to attract and to retain talent?
So it remains the number one issue. I know that the labor market is weakening a little bit. It's not as crazy as it was,
Right.
with the shortage supply of labor as it was, like, say, 2 years ago. But come on. I mean, Mark, you ask anybody that's running a business about their number one asset, and it's always people. And the smartest clients and readers and people in my community that I meet, when they stumble upon somebody with, experience and talent, whatever, they will move the earth to bring that person on board if they have the opportunity, So it's an it's an absolutely must need for most business owners, and a must priority. The smaller you are, it's harder to afford stuff like that. Most employees today want three big things. They want good health care, they want good retirement benefits, and they want flexibility. So healthcare costs are going up 9% this year. So you have to really get innovative about healthcare. And I did speak about that to the group in New Orleans about some thoughts on managing healthcare costs, because it's a huge benefit for people. And then the flexibility issue is a big issue for people as well. You got to be prepared to deal with work from home and maybe a 4-day work week or independent working. It's very important to people,
Yeah, Gene. So are there certain other benefits you're seeing being considered by employers that you don't normally see in an effort to make themselves more competitive in a maybe somewhat constrained labor marketplace?
Yeah, a couple of hot benefits this year that I'm seeing. First of all, dependent care is huge. I mean, we all have it. I mean, you guys as well as me. I mean, like, if it's not dependent care issues with our kids, it's dependent care issues with our parents. I mean, we're stuck in that. Right. And so I'm seeing a lot of employers really step up and offer not only more dependent care benefits, they're increasing, flex accounts, they're increasing reimbursements, which employers can get a tax deduction for, by the way. There are tax credits available for setting up like a child care facility. I have employers that, at the very least, I mean, like, they're hiring accountants or lawyers or HR people to come in and tutor their employees about how to best take advantage of the dependent care, deductions and credits that are available to people individually, because it's like you need a PhD to figure out how that works, So I've seen people, so they become very innovative about dependent care because they know how important. And the more help that people get to pay for dependent care for their kids or older parents, the more focused they are at work, and the more they show up to work. So that's one big thing. And you know what else has been a big hot benefit this year? This gets back to health insurance, is the weight loss drugs like Ozempic. It's been huge, but their cost, they add on some cost to health insurance. You have to be very careful, but I see a lot of my readers and a lot of clients of mine saying, like, yeah, wow, we've been able, we've offered, the weight loss drugs, and it's been a real attractive thing for a lot of employees, which is very interesting. They're very popular.
And that's through their main health insurance, or is that through some add-on program?
Through their main health insurance, or they get new health insurance that does cover it. And one thing, my biggest piece of advice is that if you're offering group health to your employees, you should have as many options as possible. And I have employers, I mean, I just learned this from smart people. They'll offer a group health plan that covers Ozempic and a group health plan that doesn't cover it. And then letting the employees decide because again, some employees might look at the added cost and be like, okay, it's not worth it, but it's been requested a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, with the way that the use of those weight management drugs has exploded in the past.
I've never had to use them, but I have some friends that have used Ozempic, and they speak the world of it. They say it's great. And I mean, I'm sure 20 years from now, they'll probably grow 2 extra fingers and toes, for all we know. But in the meantime,
let's hope not.
The meantime seems to be working great.
Well, I mean, talking about weight loss drugs and like new innovations out there, that makes me think of technology and all the innovation that's gone on in the technology space as well. What are some of the latest technologies that, mid-sized and small companies should be taking advantage of now?
Kat, it's AI, 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 right? I mean, I write for Forbes I cover tech for Forbes. I've been doing this for 20 years, about 6 to 8 times a month, and it's been nothing but AI. And so what I'm seeing big corporations build AI systems, spending tens of millions of dollars and licensing large language models and creating customer service things, with chatbots and robots that you don't even know they're not human when you talk to them. And we're starting to see that. I mean, I was at a Marriott conference hotel just a few weeks ago in Dallas and called down to the desk to find out how late the restaurant was open. I had a 5-minute conversation with a robot. I didn't even know it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So big corporations are building that stuff, but for small and mid-sized businesses, they're either buying or they're preparing. So they're leaning into the AI chatbots like Chat GPT, Gemini from Google, Copilot from Microsoft. Anthropic has been very, very popular. And I would say for anyone running a business right now, or anybody that's working in a business and you're listening to this, you need to pick 2 or 3 AI chatbots to be your buddies. They should replace your search engine. Whenever you want to do a search, ask them. They will give you better answers with references, and they will write policies. They will do research for you. They will answer questions. They will create emails for you. They'll analyze spreadsheets. They'll write macros. Who knows how to write a macro? But your Chat GPT will do that. I mean, it's just imagine having like a really, really super smart person with access to the universe that's by your side and remembering you. So you talk about what technologies of right now. It's this generative AI chatbots that I'm seeing a lot of my clients lean heavily into, and it's saving a lot of time and making people better. And then the other advice that I have is this year, you're not going to build your own system like Marriott does. I mean, unless you've got the resources, lean into your software vendors. I don't know what you're using for accounting or CRM or, just for your management of policies and orders and whatnot. Talk to your main software vendors and ask them, what new AI features are you rolling out now and coming up? What are you guys working on? Because it's the software vendors that are spending all the money. They're developing new functionality, right? So they want their customers to continue to pay their monthly fees for their software. And to do that, they've got to be offering great stuff. So our job as business people is to beat up our technology people and ask them what they're doing and ask them, prove to me why I should continue on with you guys. What's new great features you got coming out? And you'll get good answers. And then you'll choose that. And that's what you should be leaning into in 2025. That's my advice.
What sounds like, just to go back to HR and talent,
Yeah.
with this, it looks like maybe we need to be revisiting our employee handbooks too. I would imagine they may need policies to address AI use in these small and medium-sized businesses.
You are right. And again, I mentioned that, I have some takeaways from when I talk about AI, but, Mark, you hit it right on the head about an AI policy. Every business needs to have an AI policy this year as well. It does exactly what you just said. I mean, there's a bunch of AI apps out there. It's like those mobile apps back when the iPhone was introduced, and if your employees are going to be monkeying around with this stuff and they're going to make mistakes, it's going to be a problem. And for all I know, you upset a customer or a client or somebody in your community. If you have a policy that says what AI can be used, who can use it, what can it be used for, what is not allowed to be used, then, if anything happens, God forbid, at least you can turn to your policy and be like, well, that employee acted, it was in violation of our policy. It gives you some recourse. So absolutely, you should be writing your AI policy this year. Best place to go for an AI policy is ChatGPT.
It can write the policy for itself.
Yeah. Write a policy for yourself. Restrict yourself, please. And it'll write it and it'll get you like 90% there. Like, it's pretty good. And then you take it to your attorney and your IT people and whoever, your business advisors. They can polish it up. And then every 6 months, go back to Chat GPT or whatever, upload the policy and say, how can I make this better? What new things have happened that I should improve? What should I add to this? And it will tell you. It will redraft it every 6 months for you so that you're completely current. So it's a great point, Mark. It's exactly what you should be doing.
Well, and it seems like with this new technology that we're starting to employ, or have itself write policies about for us, there's going to be some increased cybersecurity concerns as well, right?
Always, and they're always. Just remember, if you're going to be, using any of these AI applications, your data is going to the cloud, and all the AI companies in the world will tell you that you can trust us, you can trust us, you can trust us, and we all know that we can't trust them. So they've got your data. And it's a risk reward thing, Kat. I mean, you have to take a step back and be like, okay, well, because of Chat GPT, I'm able to do things so much faster and better with my existing staff. They're so much more productive. But if I am risking some security because of that. So I've got to weigh my risk with my rewards, and that's what we all do.
Yeah.
It almost seems like there's a lot to process, everything going on. I always like to think about where should I get my information and trying to figure out what's going to happen near term, particularly in the economy. Gene, do you have any words of advice in terms of where people should look for that kind of information?
So I do. First of all, follow me, for goodness sake, on Medium.
Perfect.
I'll keep you guys completely up to speed. It's genemarks.medium.com. But I can tell you one thing when it comes to the economy, and because I cover the economy, and I've just been practicing what data is the best. And my biggest advice what I've learned, right, is we live in America. America's the biggest economy in the world. We're a capitalist economy. There are three things that drive our economy: capital, consumers, and jobs, right? I mean, those are the three things. And I have been burned so many times before by relying on government data. Like GDP gets released and GDP went up, and then it gets revised 16 times and it was nothing what it originally said. So when it comes to capital, like right now as we're recording this conversation in October, like the banks are releasing earnings. So listen to what the banks are saying. They've got real customer data, and they are telling you what their credit situation and capital situation is like. That gives you a good idea of the capital environment for an economy. When it comes to consumers, in November, we're going to get all the retailers, Walmart and Amazon and Target. They're all going to release their earnings. Pick a few CEOs there and hear what they're about to say. They're going to tell you from their own data, things are weakening or things are getting stronger, or this is what they're seeing. I mean, that to me is better than any government retail sales report. And then jobs. I mean, ADP and Paychex are the two biggest payroll companies in the country. And every month they publish data, real actual data from their customers about their wages and employment. Follow them. You'll know more about the labor market than what the Bureau of Labor Statistics is telling you, and then revising again. Those are the places I like to go, and it definitely, I feel like I have my arms around better about where the economy is going when I follow those places.
So it sounds like go to the source.
Go to the source.
That's where you're going to get it,
data,
and then you're
right?
trusted folks like you.
Yeah, real data is what I'm looking for, not surveys and things like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Well, Gene, looking into your crystal ball for the future, is there any last piece of advice you want to give our listeners today?
I do. For starters, first of all, in the economy, I'm not seeing any red flags or catastrophes. Or anything can happen, obviously. But if you follow the people I was following, mentioning before, you'll see nobody's like jumping for joy about the state of our economy, but nobody is panicking. So that's good to know. I think for the next 3 to 6 months, regardless of how the election turns out, will be somewhat stable. So I think that's fine. And then finally, as we go into the election, I just want to remind everybody, I have to be reminded myself, you put your politics aside, your passions aside. I get it. You support who you're going to support. Make that known inside the voter's box. But come on, we all have a responsibility for our businesses and our people, our employees, our customers, their families. So even if your person doesn't win, you got a business to run. So you want to make sure that you're smart about what's going to happen and the policies, pay close attention and navigate your way around it. And 2 years from now, there'll be another election, so. That's the way I've learned to look at it.
That's good advice, Gene. Well, thanks so much for being on with us today. Hopefully we can get you back again sometime, talk about what happens in 2025 now that we got all the...
Yeah, it's been super fun. I would love to come back, so thank you.
Thanks so much.
You've been listening to Let's Get Surety, brought to you by the National Association of Surety Bond Producers. For more information about the NASBP and its members, visit nasbp.org.
Before we go, we just want to say thank you again to Old Republic Surety for their generous support in sponsoring this episode of Let's Get Surety. For more information on Old Republic Surety, visit www.orsurety.com.